Hello, good evening, and welcome everybody on tonight's presentation. My name is Claudia Eifert, and I have with me the founder and CEO of Utopian Global on the call tonight, and I do welcome everybody from all around the world to this presentation, which we're going to host tonight, and we expect to have a great outcome here and a lot of excitement for what we're going to have to share. The presentation will take around 40 minutes time, so I hope that you stay awake and bear with us while we're going to show you some great new things in the Utopian Global system. So with that, welcome Bill to the call. It's great, my great pleasure to have you on the call tonight.
Hi Claudia, great to be here. Thank you for hosting tonight's call, and welcome to everyone joining us from different parts of the world.
Germany, and I don't know how my connection is, so I may drop out from time to time, so you just have to maybe then jump in, Bill, if this is the case, and your audience just bear with me because yes, the connection seems to be a little bit bad over here, but I hope so far you can hear me loud and clearly. Yes?
You are dropping out a little bit, Claudia. It might pay to shut off your video. Well, I might shut mine off until I'm speaking. It was okay, but it then dropped out a few seconds, that was all.
Okay. Let me just turn off everything here in the Wi-Fi. All right, well, let's go ahead then and get started here. As you see, Utopian Global plus STORH, the power of investment in a better future, and that is what this webinar is about. Everybody wants to have a better future. We're aiming for. Sometimes we don't know how to get there. We think we know, but then maybe don't go the right way. So what we really want to touch on today is obviously our, changing world, our stark financial and environmental reality, which is out there. We hear it every day. If you watch the news, or if you don't watch the news, you hear it anyway from somewhere. We are living in an imbalanced global financial system. You have more and more people at the poor end than in the middle class. This is certainly disappearing, and of course the gap between rich and the poor is widening every time. We have a crippling wealth concentration, a declining in global currency purchasing power, especially against gold. I'm going to show you this in a second on a chart, on an amazing chart I have prepared for you. So that means for you, if you earn, and we have a lot of people here from different places, which you earn, of course, your British pound, your euro, your US dollar, your naira, your Australian dollar, your Japanese yen, or whatsoever. So basically, almost all the major currencies are actually declining very much against gold. We certainly have a rising government debt. We have every day we hear it in the news. The trade war, China, what's going on with the US, and of course with other countries. We have a plastic. So I mean, of course, a lot of environmental challenges which we are facing, and which with Utopian Global and through STORH, we hope we can make a difference. We also have a high global resource consumption. That is because obviously the population as such is very much growing, and we need and consume more and more energy as we grow. So what if you could actually counter grim financial realities and address environmental damage and the energy crisis, while at the same time boosting your income? So imagine you can do good, you can do something and make money with that. And this is really what we're going to talk about, Bill and I, in the next few minutes, about the Utopian Global ecosystem, owning real assets, real income, and real lifestyle. See, if you own real assets which produce you real income, you can have a great lifestyle. And that is really a better way to counter today's financial pressures and environmental crisis, and grow your income, secure your assets, and face the future, therefore, with pretty much confidence. And so what we have in our system is really you can earn through investment in income producing energy assets via STORH. STORH is an asset-backed token, and it stands for Sustainable Technology and Resource Holdings. And we also show you a way how to safeguard your wealth by saving in precious metals. We have been doing so since 2008. We are in 2019, so that is quite some time. Also show you a way when you market products, services, can actually boost your income and benefit from our proven wealth strategies, and owning your own business, which you really can expand globally, worldwide, and get even legal tax benefits. So when we look at wealth and asset ownership, there's really 4 ways to generate income. There's really 4 ways. And a lot of people know, of course, what I'm going to present you. Some may don't. That was a drawings many years done by Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki, a financial investor, and he drew this cash flow quadrant, where he really talks about obviously the employee and the self-employed, and how to change to become a business owner and certainly a investor. And most people, most of the population, they're working in a job, yeah, which is not bad, nothing bad against working in a job. We all started somehow there, and it's great. We need employees, so we need people who do some jobs we don't want to do, maybe. So we need that. So it's not bad to have a job, but most people are there. The problem with that is, of course, you're trading your time for money. We all have the same amount of time, and if you trade your time for money, of course, there's a cap. So there's always a limitation to it. There's no really leverage, and we want to show you everything about leverage. And of course, if you become a self-employed, and that's the little business owner, you have maybe a little shop, or maybe you are a doctor, you're a lawyer, and if you have to work, so basically you have to have your law practice open, your doctor practice open, right, in order to make money. When you close, well, you're not making money. So it's a self-employed. It's the same deal in terms of trading time for money, because only when you work, you're really making money, and there's a cap. So there's always a limitation to it. Yes, and so while these professions are very important, and why it's actually really amazing and great, really we want to show you the other strategies. The strategy certainly to become a business owner, meaning actually that you have people who work with you, and you are actually making money from the leverage of many people working, instead of just you trading your time, which we know is limited. So if you have many people working, well, that's of course a leverage of time. So the income doesn't only depend on your active work. And that is certainly be done through what we call network marketing, the way of marketing our products and services, because when many people market products and services, and you get a little bit from all these people which you train and help to build their business, well, that again is leveraging of time. So it's a really great way. Now we know, of course, there's businesses like franchises, McDonald's, and that is all kinds of types of businesses where you can actually leverage and have leverage. But of course, what the end game always is, and that is what the 2%, 3%, maybe 5%, but more likely 3% of the population have, and that is they have money working for them. So we ultimately, of course, the goal is to show you have money working for you, and that really you can have through the Utopian Global STORH concept. So STORH, the asset-backed token, having the assets working for you. Now you need money in order that you have assets working for you. How do you get that? Well, you get it by becoming a business owner. So it's a really great concept. And Bill himself, he's the CEO of Utopian Global. When he started the company, Utopian Global, that was exactly what he wanted to teach each and everybody, to get that leverage, to be able, no matter where you come from, no matter if you have money, you don't have money, that you have a way through leveraging your time to build an amazing cash flow. And he was introduced to Robert Kiyosaki many years ago. So maybe, Bill, you want to talk a little bit about the importance on that, and of course then moving into where we are today with our monetary system, our gold, silver, why this plays a role, why did you actually founded the company, what was really the purpose behind, and certainly where we're going to go in the future. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about that. That would be fantastic.
Well, certainly, Claudia. Well, let's start at the very beginning, what really interested me. And I must say, what really got me involved in the multi-level marketing industry, I was introduced to this in the early 1990s. And to be quite honest, I didn't like the company that was introduced to me, but I did love the concept of being able to compound your time. Now, at that time, I owned a hotel. It was my second hotel. I was working long hours. It was a recession in Australia at that time. Interest rates were over 20%. Pressure was on. I was probably doing 90 hours a week. It turned out to be a great cycle in the end, but a lot of work, a lot of dedication. I was a slave to the business in one sense. But at that time, I was introduced to multi-level marketing, and I learned the system by Don Failer in that respect. And I learned about compounding your time. And to me, it was just ingenious. And primarily the principle that I loved about it is you buy X amount of goods and services, share it with other people, do the same thing, and you're going to get paid for that. No brainer. I didn't really care if they use the products or services or not. Let's just, as a group, as a business group, do this together and get other people to come in, and we all make money. And that's exactly what we did. In fact, I love the industry so much, I ended up, we founded a company and ended up going to London in 1998, and I met the owners of the company. It was an American company. It was nearly doing $1 billion US in revenues. You know the company, Claudia, because you work for them in the corporate world. And I got the rights to take that company products and services to Germany. And from there, we built an organization of over 50,000 members. So I owned my hotels. And at the same time, I had a passive income going. When I was sleeping, I was making money. Beautiful thing, international money, travel, all included. You have a legitimate international business. To me, it was just a no-brainer, to be quite honest. So that's really what got me involved in this. And about the same time, in fact, a year later, I met Robert Kiyosaki. He came out, I think, in 1999 with Rich Dad Poor Dad. He launched it in Melbourne, Australia, and he spoke very much about trading your time for money that you just spoke about, Claudia. If you're trading your time 10 hours, let's say you're trading £10 an hour or $10 an hour, we're all going to trade about 100,000 hours of our time during our working career. Now that's 50 hours a week for 40 years. That's about 100,000 hours. So at £10 an hour, now that's pretty low, but some places don't even get paid 10 pounds an hour. That would be £1 million or €1 million or $1 million US or $1 million Australian dollars over the lifetime of your working career, over 40 years. Start working at 18 and you work until you're nearly 60, you work your 40 years, it's 100,000 hours, and the maximum you've earned at 10 pounds or whatever an hour is $1 million, whatever that is, whatever currency. Now, the first thing is who's going to get paid? Uncle Sam. The tax man's going to get paid. So they're going to take their huge cut. Now, in some parts of the world, that's 50%. If you include taxes and insurance and those types of things, half of it's already gone. You take out your mortgage or you take out your rent, take out your living expenses. Maybe there's a holiday in there, assuming things go well for you. But primarily, I realized very young that, well, I wasn't that young, I suppose. I was mid-20s to later 20s. I realized if I kept working the job concept by itself, it was never going to get me sufficient money. That's why I went into private enterprise and built my first hotel in 1986. So understanding when you own the business model that we have here is that you have the power to really compound your wealth. And really, you own a business model for less than, I think it's $1.50 a day. And in that, you actually own real assets, which is absolutely awesome. I mean, you can buy a cup of coffee. It's going to cost you $3, $4, $5, per day. At the same time, here you get an international business with real assets included in that. So the early days of Don Fader, Own Your Life system, and network marketing, combined with the teachings from Robert Kiyosaki, really led me. Over time, I knew, even though I owned 4 hotels over 20 years, I knew my longevity for time freedom, for travel, for lifestyle, and also being able to share the ideas with other people was going to come from this industry. It's just absolutely no-brainer. And as we move into these new cycles, and everything goes in cycles, as we move into these new cycles where we're having, virtual reality and what is it they call it? A lot of the robotic labor coming on now. A lot of young people aren't getting the jobs that were available in the past. In fact, our labour market, in one sense, is shrinking a lot in many countries, giving up to technology. So I think the new generations, for us baby boomers, it's fantastic, this business model, because it gives us time freedom. It's an insurance policy. But I think the younger generations, the millennials, for example, they don't really want to follow what the baby boomers did, working 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week. At the end of that cycle, pretty much just getting by. They think differently. Their life is on the phone, So the systems we have here, I think, is going to be very, very special for them, where they get access to a global business, pay seamlessly, and get ownership of real assets. So that's really the model that I love. Now, in 2003, I was introduced to the precious metals world. I sold my last hotel and made quite a bit of revenue from that. And from that, I flew to Zurich and met Philip Judge, the bullion banker. And from there, I was introduced to gold and silver. It was the beginning of the bull market of gold and silver. It was around about, I think it was just over 300 an ounce back at that particular time. It ran up to $1,900 an ounce, even though we see gold and silver as an insurance policy. But it was a strong trending market, and you want to follow the trend, of course. And that's exactly what I did. And at the same time, understanding that an ounce of gold thousands of years ago would clothe a person, same as 100 years ago. 1 ounce of gold would actually buy a fine three-piece suit, shirt, and tie, and leather shoes, or the equivalent of $20 US, because $20 US would actually buy you 1 ounce of gold. Or I could actually fully clothe myself. Now, $20 in Zurich gives me probably gives me 3 cappuccinos. But the same ounce of gold, exchanged to any currency in the world, will still give me a fantastic 3-piece suit, shirt and tie, and leather shoes, as the ladies will be able to get exactly what they would like to get in any fine department store. So I learned in 2003 that gold and silver is a store of wealth. It's a store of value. And Philip told me back then, actually, in the Grant Thornton Accountant's office, that throughout history, rulers of empires, royalty, and the financial elite have always put, maybe he said then, 3 to 5% of their paper wealth into tangible assets such as gold and silver. I didn't understand why until he gave me that metaphor of what an ounce of gold could buy. Then I got it. It changed my whole concept of chasing money and then starting to preserve some of it. But also I realized with some of my proceeds from my sale, I need to have that money working for me. I wanted that to work for me in real tangible assets. We just come out of the dot-com boom, where a lot of it was just air and hype. A little bit similar to, let's say, the crypto world of the 2017, 2018, where a lot of these things out there are not backed by anything. So I I was introduced to an energy fund. In fact, I invested 1 million Australian dollars. At that time, it was about 840,000 American, a lot of money, into an energy fund, which is actually Ryan Messer, that's how I met him, was engaged. In fact, before I invested with him, I said to Philip, before I put a dime with you guys, I like you, I like your plan, I like what you do, much smarter guy than me. But before I put any money with this, I want to go over and see number one, meet the team, and 2, see the assets. So that's exactly what I did. I flew over to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, spent a week there with the team, got to know the geologists, engineers, the managers. I met Ryan, connected instantly, and he's been involved in this industry ever since. And that's really where we are today. So what I did back in 2003, 2004. In fact, you even came in, I think, in 2006, Claudia. I introduced you to the energy fund as well. You put some money in there because you also wanted to leverage, have your money working for you. So we have a long relationship with Ryan Messer. outstanding professional in his field, man of high integrity. Love working with him. And this is what STORH is today. So that gives you a bit of a history of how it all came together. Now, gold and silver is a very exciting subject right now. I won't go into too much detail, but we're seeing some nice breakouts. I mean, just touching on it briefly, silver's broken $19 an ounce, which is absolutely awesome. It's had a good rally up. And gold's over 1,500. Well, what's really interesting about these ratios is historically, it's always taken a certain number of ounces of silver to buy an ounce of gold. Now, historically, it could be between 12 to 16 ounces on the long-term cycles. But 1980, it contracted back to about 16 ounces. 1980, gold was about 850. Silver hit about $50 or the high 40s. So it contracted back to about 16 to 1. Okay. 2011, gold was at $1,900. Silver was just over 50, I think. Contracted to about, I think it was about 36 to 1. Now, in the last 2 months, gold and silver, the ratio had been well over 90 to 1, over 90 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold. So it was way out of balance. Now we see it trending back to its averages, which is very exciting for silver holders, also exciting for gold. But for silver, it's now back to about 81, 82 ounces of silver, I think, to 1 ounce of gold, because gold's a bit over 15. I think silver's just over $19 an ounce. So when these numbers come back into its natural equilibrium over long-term cycles, we can see a lot of upside, certainly on silver, which is an industrial metal, but certainly when the fundamentals regarding the monetary system, the world debt, trade wars, the uncertainty in the world right now, gold is also a fantastic thing to own. So I own both, I buy both, but I must say I'm leaning towards more silver at this stage because I know that these averages will certainly come into play more in the favour of silver. But I think long-term about this, I see it as an insurance policy. I only buy into gold and silver, that money that I don't need to have access to right now, because I look at this as long-term. But the great thing with our system, for all of you, this is the reason why we did this with Utopian, it goes back 11 years, this concept now, is that you can buy gold and silver from as little as $25 per month. So less than $1 a day, you can actually own silver or own gold in one respect. And as you accumulate it, if you needed to sell it, because insurance policies, if you treat it as an insurance policy, you need to liquidate because something unexpected happened in your life, no problem. You just log into your back office, you just plan to sell order. And generally, all London bullion market trading orders are placed daily, except, of course, bank holidays. Within 24, 48 hours, the money's back in your e-wallet, and from there you can get it nominated out to your Bitcoin account, or you can get it nominated out to your bank account. So it's a very liquid system available to all people around the world. All the gold is produced at Argor Horizon refinery in Switzerland, which is only 5 refineries in the world which are accredited to a London bullion market, what we call a referee refiner. It's certified at the highest level to be able to certify other producers. Now, I've been dealing with this refinery since 2008. We even produce our own coins, collectibles as well, the Moses, the Josephs, the King Davids, etc., which is awesome. And of course, we store it in Loomis International. It used to be called Viamat. They were bought out by Loomis, which is a public company. It turns over a billion euros per year in revenues. And we store it there, but we can also ship to you. We can't ship to some countries, but most Western countries we can actually ship through FedEx. It's fully insured. Very, very simple to do in that respect. So this is what we have available for our members. We're a company of real assets, real income, which of course flows into your lifestyle. So
thank you, Bill. And
summary, Claudia.
No, that was actually amazing and really great. And I had a few times changing the PowerPoint. I don't know if you saw it or not, to that chart, which I just found and actually put up, which is a pretty interesting chart because you know, some people don't really understand charts or don't really like charts, but I wanted to really put the chart up here because it's pretty awesome when you see just from 2015 to 2019. Now we had already since existence of the company, of course, we already had a major gold and silver run, as you just mentioned, and of course we're going to go, I believe, into another one. But we really see here gold, for example, against any major currency. So it's, you have the AU, which is of course the gold against the US dollar, the gold against the euro, the gold against the Australian dollar, gold against the British pound, gold against the Japanese yen. So you see, of course, here from 2015 going now, of course, well into 2019, almost, of course, we are so soon in 2020, believe it or not, but you see a major now rise against, of course, these currencies. So what does this mean for our listeners? What can they understand out of this chart? Well, you certainly can see if you own real assets instead of, well, you're well better off. I mean, if you own the US dollar, the euro, the Australian dollar, which of course we all need if we live in this country and we need that currency, but it's always good to have some aside into precious metals, correct? Or Bill?
No, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, for the newcomers into this industry, just like I was back in 2003, I'd never looked at gold. Okay, I looked at my currency, the Australian dollars. I lived in Australia. That was primarily it, and that was my view. And inflation is invisible to us, to most people. We just see things costing us more money. Now, when we look at gold and silver, when we look at, of course, currencies, we must look at it from a quantitative point of view of how many goods and services, how many goods and services can I buy for an ounce of gold or an ounce of silver over time versus your currency. Now, generally, you can just do your own research on this as well. Generally, any currency that's out there, paper currency that's out there, every 10 years, your buying power is going to decrease by more than 50%. So your goods and services that you can buy with $100, £100, €100 today, in 10 years' time, to buy the equivalent amount of goods and services, you're going to need £200 or €200 or $200, etc. For some countries, it's much more than that. It's maybe only 3 to 4 years. Venezuela, less than a year. It's probably 6 months, and they've already lost half the purchasing power. We just saw in Argentina as well. Our good friends from down there, we have a strong team. Same deal. New government elections there. Overnight, their currency devalued by 40%. I mean, huge impact. We don't feel that in our part of the world. In their part of the world, they certainly feel it. So gold and silver is about how many goods and services you can buy. The purchasing parity of that over a longer period of time. Now, if I gave you 10,000 Aussie dollars now or 10,000 euros, and you put that under your bank and you put it under, you know, the equivalent amount in gold and silver under today's exchange rate under your bed, and came out 10 years later and used any one of those currencies, as I just said, they're going to buy less than half the goods and services of what it will today. But your gold and silver will still buy primarily the same, or even maybe more goods and services than what it did today. It's wealth preservation. But again, it's one of the smaller insurance policies that you'll have. As you may only put, you know, some people are saying, the experts, maybe 10% of your paper wealth into gold and silver for a long-term insurance policy in that respect. And you might put another 10% or 20% into some hard assets, income-generating assets, whether it be real estate, whether it be something like STORH, where you own real assets, and in time they'll be generating an income. In fact, they are generating an income now. They're just getting sown back into the redevelopment of the raccoon bend right now, or other natural resources and different things. This is how we need to think. But currencies trick us. The whole system tricks us, and it's designed to trick us. It's designed to transfer wealth away from the people back to the central banking system. And, you know, as John Maynard Keynes said, probably 1 in a million probably gets that. And I must say, I didn't get it. I'd been in business for many years dealing with millions of dollars. It wasn't until 2003 when I got that aha moment. And that's the main reason why I developed this site back in 2008 and founded the Swiss company, so we could actually do this and share this knowledge with other people, because the monetary system keeps us on a treadmill, keeps us enslaved. And once you understand that the monetary system is designed to strip wealth away from you and your family, then you can think outside the box. Then you can think outside the bank. You can think of your plan B, C, D, and E. But we're primarily educated just to think about the plan A and trust that plan A. But if you do that, you're going to get hurt. No question about that. History shows us that.
And you know, I mean, you and I, we both love, of course, history. So we are huge into. I mean, I'm a researcher. You're a researcher. We certainly love it. You're a little bit older than me, so you have more experience than me. But I'm fascinated by history. Now, here I am in Germany, East Germany, where I did flee from. I mean, it was once upon a time communist. Actually, the village I am from, actually, the house I did live in or come from, when the World War finished in 1945, in April, on the 24th of April, for the first time, the Russian and the American did actually meet for the first time in my village, and in my house was actually the station for the US Army. And so it's a quite historic place. And why I'm saying this is, it's just because when we think of gold and we think about, of course, generations back, and we think about monetary history, monetary policy, the whole system, of course, so unfortunately, our generations, the new generations, they don't have that history anymore. They have not really experienced that bad of a time. And now it's like, okay, when I was born, I haven't also not experienced that bad of a time, but at least I had experienced communism, socialism. I believe we are very much worldwide tending towards socialism and communism. I know that it doesn't work. I know it from history, so because I have lived it. But I haven't lived, of course, World War, but I certainly have heard a lot of history and stories because I am German, and I certainly, when I was little, I was always interested in history. So it always fascinated me. So I interviewed or interrogated basically a lot of elderly people always. And of course, you had heard all these stories about, you know, how the people would flee, how they had just a little bit of gold or silver savings left, and it would, in many cases, buy them the freedom, buy them, you know, food and whatsoever. So yet, funny is, it seems totally forgotten. And nowadays, the new generation, I mean, they just cannot think of it anymore. They just have forgotten history. Yet, of course, we know history does repeat itself. It does repeat itself. And of course, as you know, we have been so many years now talking about gold and silver, and we see it again now coming back. Central banks buying gold or silver, they're on a buying spree. Why are they doing that? If they would believe so much in their own currency, why would they need gold? So those are things to question. But see, when I come home here and I try to talk with, you know, with people, even though with those who are older than me, it's just, they have forgotten. And that is like, for me, it's like, wow, this is just all this history, all those things is just totally forgotten because they don't educate you at school anymore. It's really because of this news, there's everything, all this media propaganda. They totally brainwashed on how the economy should work or will work or whatsoever, but they really have forgotten the fundamentals of our financial system. And that's, you know, it sort of saddens me.
Well, for sure. Well, I mean, a couple of things. I mean, it's a complex subject. First of all, gold is not a comfortable thing to buy, to be quite honest, for most people, because people are, you know, in one sense, they work very hard today. I mean, I think I just read a report which I put up on Facebook in the last week. 75% of Americans, and let's just say use that as that's where this report came from. 75% of Americans live from paycheck to paycheck. So if you're living from paycheck to paycheck, and I believe that statistic wouldn't be too far wrong from other countries as well, to be quite honest. But if you're living from paycheck to paycheck, how the hell could you afford to take out 5 or 10% of your wealth out of that and put it into gold? You want to pay your bills. You want to pay that horrible credit card off that you haven't been paying off, that you'll probably never pay off. This is what keeps us on the treadmill. This is what keeps us in prison, is debt. So gold is not a comfortable thing to buy. It's like an insurance policy. No one likes to buy the house insurance policy. No one likes to buy the car insurance policy or your private health insurance policy, but we need to have them correct. Well, I believe gold is a necessity as well as silver, but you need to be able to find, find that part which is suitable for you. The good thing is you can get started. We don't care if you buy $25, 25 euros a month. There's no judgment. We have the ability to actually do that. That's one issue. The other issue, of course, is that we're being dumbed down. We're dumbed down by the system that we should believe in this paper. This has value. And gold is, we get told by lots of the Western banking system, in fact, being a gold trader, I'm treated like an arms dealer. They treat you like a criminal because you're a gold dealer, to be quite honest. And because they want you to believe in their banking system, their sovereign currency in that respect. And so if you look at even at America, for example, and we talk about America because it is the reserve currency of the world since the Bretton Woods Agreement in the late 1940s after the Second World War. But since 1933, I think it was, President Roosevelt actually passed their law, which made it illegal for US citizens to own gold right up until the 1970s. You have a number of generations there that have no idea about gold because it's illegal for them to own. That's one thing. But if you go back to that particular period of time, in the 1940s or 1950s, the average price of a house in the US was say $6,000 to $7,000. Let's say about 100, at that gold price at that time was about 160, 170 ounces of gold. Well, the same today, the average price of a home in the US is about $250,000. So it's gone from $6,000 up to $250,000, okay, in that short period of time, let's say 70, 80 years in one sense. But the interesting thing is you still only need 160 to 170 ounces of gold to buy that same home. Big difference, $6,000 to $250,000 versus 166 ounces of gold back then, 166 ounces of gold roughly today, give and take a bit on each side. But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a store of value. But one of the things that interests me, Claudia, which you don't often speak about, but I remember some of your stories, was when you first started to question currencies. Yeah, nice coloured paper. Was that from a kindergarten? One of the stories that I like that you actually shared was when you went to you were at school. You must have been a young teenager, I suppose, maybe 12 or 13, and you went to Russia, to Moscow. And in the morning you went for breakfast, and in the dining room was divided in half by a big pane of glass. On one side you had people that had a huge buffet of food. In fact, it's the first time you saw your banana and pineapple, I believe. They had a huge buffet of food on that particular side. And on your side, you had, I think, water and a bread roll or something like that for breakfast. And you asked the teacher, why did they have all this? And why do you have what you have? And she told you to mind your business and not ask such questions. The truth of the matter is, you had an Eastern currency, which was not accepted on the Western, which is not accepted in the West. And on the other side, they would have had West German Deutschmarks, or they would have had US dollars or something like that, or British pounds. And therefore they get the better deal. And throughout history, money has always dictated pretty much our freedom, our lifestyle in one sense, and nothing has changed today. But one thing, regardless, that's brought people's freedom has been gold. You hear, I've traveled through Eastern Central Europe, talk to older people, even their grandparents. Of course, they talk about having, gold sewn up into their dresses or different things, or jackets, so they escape across borders and things like that. So there's a long history of not just wealth preservation, also survival. I mean, really the fall of Saigon, which is now Ho Chi Minh City, is the same deal. They wouldn't accept US dollars at that particular time, but people who had gold were able to get their exit out of Saigon before it fell. So lots of stories there, but I just want you to understand that gold is an insurance policy, and silver as well. It's good to own some long term, and we have a very liquid platform for you to be able to do that. Last point I want to touch before I get back to your presentation, Claudia, is that if you go back to 2008, that's really, you worked for a multi-level marketing company which I was a distributor for in Wiesbaden, Germany. And when I told you about that I was doing a concept with gold and silver, you could get your gold for free. For you, it was like, aha, I'm in. No brainer. I earn my commissions. I can convert my commissions directly to gold and silver. I'm getting my gold and silver for free. Because in truth, without being disrespectful, working for the company you're working for, you're probably living pretty close from paycheck to paycheck, and you wouldn't have been able to afford to buy gold. But having that other income coming in, passive income coming in, that you could take out of that secondary income, not your primary income, take out the secondary income and convert that directly into gold and silver, which I know you've been doing for over 10 years now, has been a very smart, long-term wealth building strategy for you. And now we can do the same with STORH, of course.
Yes, most definitely, it has been the case. And what I was just showing you before, even though you thought it's like display money, that's actually, you know, German history. So as I said, I'm home where I came from, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's like 50 million mark over there, 50 million mark. You couldn't even buy a loaf of bread. So my grandparents.
It's play money.
Yes, so my grandparent, because my father was quite older than my mother, and my grandparents still, of course, experienced that. Now we go back into just the late 90s, right? Mid 90s, actually. We all know, I guess we all know still about Yugoslavia. I mean, we have stories where, you know, just in Yugoslavia, that they flooded the country with gold or silver. And they did so, it's certainly into their clothes. Why? Because they're the same deal. So they would go in the morning to work, and in the evening they wouldn't have any.
I've lost you, Claudia. It may just be me. She may have done this on purpose just to put me on the spot, actually. But anyway, we've been talking a lot about gold and silver, and you can see the reason why it's such a necessity to own real assets. And STORH is very much that as well. It's a real asset. Let's just talk about STORH. We're speaking about gold a lot right now. Well, STORH, as many people on this call, and for the new people, if you look at our announcements and you go to STORH.com, you'll see that on the 1st of August this year, we purchased one of our larger assets called Raccoon Bend. It's 3,000 hectares approximately, producing over 90 producing wells, which is really important. It means it's low risk. If one well goes down or 10 wells go down, we still have production happening and revenues generated by the others. Ownership of the asset, we picked up about 12% of this huge asset. It's been producing since the 1930s, 1940s. And the reserves report, which is an audited bankable report, shows the reserves are going to be there paying out for the next 20 years. The ownership is primarily from, I would say, insiders, such as geologists, engineers, people from this particular industry. The Catholic Church Retirement, not the Catholic Church Retirement Fund, that's right, the Catholic Church Scholarship Fund, they own a percentage of it. And of course, you STORH owners own equity in a real company in America in STORH as well. And Ryan Messer, as I said, we've only taken over since the 1st of August, and some of the revenues we've taken already from STORH, we haven't paid out to you. What we've done is we've actually put it back into the asset, and they've done 2 drills. They've completed one, which is very successful, and Ryan will be coming out with more information on that soon. And they've got more expansions to do on that particular side as well as also, of course, moving into what they call polystream, plastics to fuel, which I believe is mega. It's a huge solution for the global plastic problem that we have today. And because they already own midstream, in fact, I just came back from the US myself, spending time with Ryan and of course with Randall Ennington, who heads up the midstream part. He's more like a chemist, actually. He's a young guy, been in the industry since he got out of university. But he's very passionate about the midstream, and primarily, to give you an idea what midstream is primarily the transportation of condensates or crudes in one sense, or even gases, etc. Anything to do from the fossil fuels in that side, natural gas or crude oil. Any transportation, but also the blending, because when the crude comes out of Mother Earth, it comes out at different weights, different densities, or the liquid is different thickness in one sense. They call gravity in one sense. but there's an industry standard. Different industries have different standards. So what he does is primarily he buys maybe low gravity at a very, very cheap discount. He buys higher gravity, which doesn't meet the standards at a cheap discount. He blends them together to make it the exact standard ready for the industry, and they sell it at margin. Now, the beautiful thing about the plastics to fuel is that when they extract these hydrocarbons out of the plastics, they're already involved with the midstream, doing 9,000 to 10,000 barrels per day in blending in midstream, which is quite significant for a small operation. I mean, you remember the energy industry is absolutely massive. So we are in a prime position once we get the first pyrolysis plant, that is plastics to fuel operation going, where we can extract those hydrocarbons out and blend it with discounted either higher gravity weights or lower gravity weights to make it industry specific to achieve that high margin. And the margins will be very high. So all of our STORH, all of us will certainly benefit from that. Back to you, Claudia, if you're there.
Thank you, Bill. I just unfortunately dropped out. As I said, like my connection is not so bad, and not so good here. Yes, I mean, most certainly. So the plastic to fuel is a really, really great concept. So as well, the mineral reclamation and remediation in Ecuador and in Peru, where of course Philip Judge and Robin Anthony Slaughter is very much involved in. That means going into old mines and of course cleaning them up, taking out what it's left behind by those big companies through this new process of tailing, and so which was just really, really great, because that is doing good for the environment again, but also of course for the company and for you as a token holders. But what's really interesting, because Bill, you touched on it, like when you got involved with Ryan and you invested in his oil and gas energy fund back then, which I invested in. So just to give you a little bit to the listeners an understanding, I invested a little bit later on. So when you invested, you were an early investor into the project. It was just barely starting, if I understand right. So it wasn't yet listed on an exchange. When I got in, it was already listed on an exchange. So it was already a few years running. So I basically bought the shares, and I got distributions every 3 months based on of course the production, what it would do, what these shares would do. So a little bit of a different scenario for me than when you actually as the early investor got in. And so this is a little bit of a similar scenario. Maybe we can compare it with what we have right now. So this is a very early stage. That's way earlier than when I back on the time actually got involved in. Would you say so, Bill?
Yeah, for sure, Claudia. I mean, we have to think about where we are today. We're in it's already September, but STORH really started. The white paper came out in January this year. Okay, so it's not even a year old. Okay, we've been planning it much longer than a year, but really the market learnt about STORH primarily, let's say, and the first white paper came out in January. So in that time, we bought 2 small assets, one larger one called Raccoon Bend, and we're now further developing Raccoon Bend, and into the stage of moving into the plastics to fuel. Now, why this is so important before we list is that we need to add asset value. I mean, just imagine it. If you bought at a discount and we list it, and each time we're adding the value as we buy more assets, we're going to keep buying assets, and as you buy real assets of tangible value, intrinsic value, of course, that's going to increase the token valuation, of course. Now, this takes time, based on the balance sheet of the company. But of course, when it comes to selling, if you bought at 10 cents, this is the wholesale price, and it's now at 40 cents, 4 times your money. I mean, if it goes to the market on the listing, you're probably going to be a seller. But on every side of an exchange, you've got to have buyers as well. When there's buyers, you've got to have sellers. Sellers, you've got to have buyers. So it's primarily so important that we build this asset valuation up so strong. Now, I talk about 5x, Ryan talks about 5x and more, but we start going beyond that, even though we believe that we can certainly achieve that. And how can we achieve that? Simple, we just keep buying assets. We keep buying assets, it's going to keep stacking up the value. But we want to get the asset value so strong when we do list, and because we're only going to settle on Raccoon Bend now, we're talking probably at the end of next year, or the first quarter of 2021, we want to have this asset value minimum of 5x on our money. And at the time, then people will have a choice. I mean, we'll pay out, we'll start paying out distributions before then, but certainly we certainly want to have a choice in that, okay, do we want to sell? Now, I personally will probably take some of my equity back and let the rest sit there and generate me a long-term high return for the next 15, 20 years. Why would I want to do that? Well, primarily because we're heading towards zero interest rates. Bank gives you nothing, so why not have a real asset? In fact, that's the reason why I invested in the energy fund back in 2004, because I didn't want to leave my million Aussie dollars in the bank in Australia at that particular time. I wanted to put it into real assets and, of course, generate an income. Well, this is really the plan here. So the focus right now, of course, is to increase the asset value, but also to improve the current assets that we have at Raccoon Bend. And because of that, of course, even because of the first drilling, I would expect maybe by the end of September that we'll see a token price increase again because of that. Now, Ryan suggested maybe 20%. We're waiting for some more numbers to come in of the success of the particular first and second drill. Based on that, he'll be putting out an announcement, but there certainly will be an increase, and we just want to keep doing that. We want to keep expanding the asset value, expanding the token value because of that, and getting to a point where we can start paying out distributions. But I think it's going to need 9 to 12 months to get to the point maximum before we start paying out distributions. But to me, if we're getting to a 5x before we start doing that, I have no problem with that myself personally, and that's really a meeting we had in the US last week, the board there, that we spoke about. We must focus on making sure that when we do this on an exchange, we have an awesome asset value. And primarily the revenues that are being generated, which we've just started to generate now from the 1st of August, are being sewn back into, and announcements will come out to that, so you see what's happening with your money, because store money is your money. It's my money as well, as Claudia's also. So he'll come out with more announcements regarding that in the future as well.
Absolutely, Bill, and that's what we are all working on. And in the meantime, of course, you have the opportunity to boost your income and certainly build your future by becoming a customer or an affiliate. When you can become an affiliate, obviously you have access to the Swiss LBMA certified gold or silver at wholesale prices. You get access to the Swiss secure LBMA accredited precious metals vaulting. You have shipments, as Bill said, we can ship to you. Of course, we ship to the country, and of course you have quick and easy liquidation, and if you're an active affiliate, even with 0 fees. Now, remind you, when you want to sell back gold or silver with any other company, with any other business or whatsoever, you probably gonna lose money in fees. Well, with us, it's actually different. It's very different, and it's because we can do that through our platform, and we have been doing so many years. We also do have obviously a premium wealth education and coaching program. And you have access to the webinars, marketing materials. There will be a lot coming out in the next few months, as well as your own online business platform, meaning you can build your business anywhere in the world. Even though if in the United States you may not have access to a store at the moment, but you still can build a business, and you still can have people from all around the world being able to buy into store, and you still can generate money. Of course, you can own gold or silver. So there's multiple ways, obviously, to earn, and that is, first of all, you start investing into Utopian Global ecosystem products. You commit to a €50 per month wealth accumulation plan as an affiliate, meaning you have a membership of €50, which is really not a membership. It is your business, where you actually gain each and every month. You get more more assets, or if you're in the United States, you get more gold or more silver, which means you accumulate asset on a monthly basis. Now, I know we have a lot of potions and lotions and whatnot company, which is all great, and I use those products and services. But to be honest, I prefer rather to have a storage full of gold than of potions and lotions. So it is really a 50 euro per month monthly wealth accumulation plan, which you do have. But again, you accumulate what the wealthy usually just accumulate. And you can earn on the capital growth of the store equity token and earn quarterly rewards eventually, as Bill mentioned, once we do list the token, just as when I got in back then with the fund. And we do have certain qualifications and incentives, including luxury travel. You can earn residual income through our uni-level commission plan, and other bonuses, of course, through your customers and your affiliates. So getting started is pretty simple. As a customer with STORH, you can start with 50 euro. As a customer with precious metals, you can start from 25 euro, but you must first comply with the KYC, know your client, and your PPM, your private placement memorandum, which actually makes you the owner of STORH, which is meaning you actually owning the assets. It's a legal, drafted, long document which you need to sign. You cannot do and you cannot buy STORH before you have not signed this document. Gold or silver, you only need to actually sign the KYC. But of course, if you want to buy STORH, you need to have both. As a affiliate, as I said, 50 euro per month, you can enter still for 99 euros. But of course, in order to stay active, meaning in order if you build a team, you want to get paid on the team, on what they do, well, you need to be active with a 50 euro wealth accumulation plan, and you can then purchase any gold or silver additionally. In fact, that's what I do. I probably on a monthly basis do buy part of my commissions. I convert them into gold or silver, so I actually get paid to save really in gold or silver. I've been doing this since 12 years now, and I'm doing that as well with STORH. Why? Well, because again, I want to part of my commissions always with that accumulate more assets. And of course, when you do that, when you build our system, you can of course earn unlimited amount. The limitation is only within you, so whatever you do, you're going to get paid and rewarded for. And if you help your team members to grow, well, the more you're going to get paid. So the affiliate packages, they do start with 99 euros and up to 3,500. That is the premium packages, really more so targeted towards the marketers, and then we do have the quantum packages, which is really more targeted for the more savvy investor, from 9,000 up to 1 million euros. As you see, those tokens, those are the amounts here. 99 euro, you get 67.50 tokens. Those are the amounts of tokens you currently get. If you buy a 3,500, you're getting 4,750 tokens, STORH tokens at the moment. So as you see, that will change once the price is going to change, meaning you will have less because the price of the token will increase. And that is certainly going to happen in the month of September. As Bill mentioned, we're still just waiting for some finalization of those first trills in Raccoon Band. The quantum level packages, as you see them here, 9,000 up to 1 million euro actually. The next one is here's just as you see here, 9K, 1,800, 150, 250, and 1 million. You get simply more tokens. And then you see here the fast start referral commission. So every time you actually do refer the packages to of course a future affiliate, and when the person purchases, you're going to get paid what we call a fast start, meaning straight away into your e-wallet in your back office. You can then withdraw that after 2 weeks. This money which you're earning from referring somebody, that's your fast start referral commission, one of the many commissions which you do earn. And of course here you have them for the higher packages. as you see here. So what's really important is that you got to understand that the STORH equity token is not licensed for distribution in the United States of America. There's also no guarantee that from the affiliate marketing system you will earn any money using the techniques and ideas displayed. Why? Well, because well, I don't know what the capability of you is to build this business. That's up to each individual. We know that the plan pays, and it pays very well. But of course, only if you do share the message, you can get referral commissions. If you don't share it with nobody, and you keep quiet at your house, well, you're not introducing to anybody. You're not doing the marketing. Therefore, well, probably you're not getting paid. But of course, the STORH token is a very different concept, because there you're gonna get passively paid on the assets STORH is accumulating. The entry into the Utopian Global system is covered by a 14 days money back guarantee, as you see, and that is for the affiliate packages. If you're ready to join, well, request the STORH white paper for more detail, to understand more, ask for more detail on the compensation plan, or contact the person who invited you actually to this presentation. And we invite you to the UG Africa tour in September, which is, in a few weeks coming up. The first start will be in Kenya, in Nairobi, where we have an office. There will be meetings held each and every day at the office. And then we do have 2 major meetings in Kampala, in Uganda, and in Mukono in Uganda. And then we're going to go to Durban, where we're waiting for a very excited team, where we're going to see a very excited team, as well as in Joburg, in Johannesburg, South Africa on the 24th September. I believe it's even national holiday in South Africa on the 24th. So if you know people there, invite them to attend the meeting, to meet us in this wonderful place, and to learn more about this opportunity, how you can earn and accumulate real assets, and therefore make real income, and therefore have a real lifestyle. So with that, thank you so much, you listeners, for being and coming onto the call today. And thank you, Bill, and apologize again for my bad audio, but hey, I'm here in the east of Germany, and it's not yet such a good internet as we, used to at the other part. So with that, thank you, guys, and again, thank you, Bill, and goodbye.
Thanks, Claudia. Thanks, everyone, and see everyone in South Africa, in Kenya, and Uganda shortly. Okay, good night to everyone. Bye-bye.